Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Highly Inspired. I'm Ella.
I'm Jordan.
Welcome.
Hi, guys. We want to address some things to start off this episode because we have so much to go through today.
A lot.
And we've been kind of driving ourselves crazy just consuming a lot of news the past 2 weeks. So we're so excited to finally translate that and get that out just for ourselves. But also we have so much catching up to do too. So it'll be very multi-pronged. But we have a few new listeners and
Welcome,
yes,
everyone.
welcome. We just wanted to kind of give you guys some context as to, you know, who we are, what this show is about. It's changed a lot over the past 3 years, actually over 3 years that we've been doing this.
I
And
think it's been 4.
4, yeah.
5. We started at 20. So 5.
5 years. We took a bit of a break, but yeah, overall, it's been for sure 5 years.
Yeah, so we started this podcast when we were 20 years old. We did not know anything. This was pre-COVID. Ironically, like the biggest podcast at that time, podcasting wasn't that big, but like the biggest thing was like the Call Her Daddy podcast, which we're going to talk about that today as it relates to the Kamala Harris interview. Although the main focus of this episode is going to be the hurricane updates and all the just weather stuff that's going on right now, because it's very critical in a lot of different things. It's not just about weather. It hits elections. It's going to hit land grabs. It's going to hit BlackRock. It's going to hit 15-minute cities. It's going to hit the migrant crisis. It's going to hit crime. It's going to hit human trafficking. A lot of bad things. Insurance. A lot of negative things that are happening right now. It kind of converges all of those topics. And I would say that Jordan and I, the last 5 years, we've slowly been going on this like awakening process, and it goes in bits and waves where there's kind of a big peak of info. And I feel like the last week, for me at least, has been one of those peaks. I haven't felt this way since we first found out about Schwab and the Great Reset. To be honest, emotionally, I haven't felt
In
this
terms
way.
of the magnitude of new revelations that you're having or we're having.
I would say, I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it's not necessarily new revelations. It's that I'm connecting all these small revelations into one big dot. And I feel like in our previous podcasts from a few weeks ago when we talked about Black Swan events, and then our one before that where we talked about like the predictions and like what could the October surprise possibly be, I feel like seeing how the hurricane has unfolded last week, it's kind of bringing all of those things together, not just in the short term in terms of like the October surprise, but also in the long run in terms of how they're going to get to that 2030 agenda when they couldn't with COVID. So,
Yeah. I think something that sets our show apart, or just how we like to discuss and unpack these bits of news and things that we're coming across in the news, is trying to find through lines and doing very in-depth pattern recognition across such a massive scale. This goes across business and science and health and agriculture and, you know, so many industries.
social relationships.
Yes. So we are trying to deliver to you guys takes that are connecting the dots from all of these different categories. And that's something that you don't really find in the media and on other podcasts where they're just going through the timeline of events and not delivering the why. And a lot of times when I listen to some shows, I feel like I leave them without understanding the why behind a lot of things. And granted, you know, we're just two people interpreting information that we're coming across. So we are not the instigators. We'll never 100% know the truth. But that's something that we have become really comfortable with, I think. Just this lack of control. I mean, everyone of the last 5 years has experienced the feeling of being out of control and not having control and having to let go of a lot of things. And that can be really hard to do. Yes, surrendering. So, yeah, we just wanted to say that before we get into our list. But we have a lot to get into. So
we have a lot. We have I mean, just a kind of high level, and then I think we can kind of dive into it. We want to mainly talk about the 2 hurricanes, Hurricane Helene, which has happened, and then Hurricane Milton, which is in the process of happening. I think it starts tonight.
Right now.
Right now. And we want to talk about all the things related to that that I kind of listed out a few minutes ago, and that we've talked about individually in all these podcasts the last 5 years, definitely the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And that now in this one moment in time, at least for us, it's all coming together in kind of an aha moment where we can see all these things that we've deep dived. Okay, we figured out what is a 15-minute city. We figured out, okay, what is the goal with climate change and carbon tax? What is the goal with land grabs? What is the goal with a centralized banking system? Like, what is the goal of us not being able to grow our own food? All these things that, what's the goal with controlling elections, not having free elections, right? Like figuring out like you said, all these patterns. So I think that's kind of the first thing we want to dive into. And then from there, we want to talk about some other stuff that is also coming up as, I wouldn't say an October surprise, but it's definitely like compounding right now. And that's everything with Diddy. Obviously that's a big case that's coming up. Everything that's coming along with that, Oprah, Michael Jackson, there's a lot of like celebrities involved in that. And then I would say
MK Ultra,
the Call Her Daddy podcast. And there was a few others, but we'll look at it when we get to that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great intro. Maybe you guys have seen some of the footage that has come out of Appalachia and Florida that have been affected by these hurricanes, and it's pretty jarring. I've seen a few this week that I can't really get out of my head. It's been several days now. We don't need to get into graphic detail. I think you can imagine how horrible, but I've never been in a hurricane, so there's a lot that I don't know about what that process looks like. I think we're in uncharted territory where we're now seeing cop cars surveying streets, announcing over an intercom to, evacuate, and you're just supposed to listen to it. So there's a lot that's new in terms of the management of hurricane proactivity and aftermath, and
the information that we have.
Yes.
Because do you remember Katrina when that happened?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What do you remember from it?
I just remember I remember seeing some footage on the news. I remember the news was talking about it for months, but I don't remember how that was managed. And I don't remember, I've never talked to anyone that was there firsthand for it.
Yeah. I mean, we were I think we were like 4. I remember being at my grandma's house, and I remember seeing that footage on the news, and I remember being very, very disturbed by it, very sad and like very scared.
Yeah.
Again, because like I never grew up with hurricanes. We both are from Arizona, and we're probably like the one state that doesn't have natural disasters.
Yeah.
And so, to be honest, and this is not me, I count this as a blessing, but I've really never personally had that as a fear. When we lived in California, obviously we had more natural disasters there, mudslides, fires, earthquakes, and we went through those, and we actually got evacuated once, but that's a story for another day. But I would say growing up in Arizona, it's never been like a fear of mine. And then I remember in Hurricane Katrina, I remember being at school. I guess I was a little older. I guess we were like in first grade. And we made care packages for them.
Yes, I think we did too. Yeah.
So I feel like the differences here is that with Katrina, we got a filtered view of it.
Yep.
But the media had control of the narrative, and things weren't as bad then with our federal government's response. It wasn't great. It was not great when you relook at it. I don't know all the details, but I know that looting was a problem. I know FEMA didn't do a good job. But I think that the media had a filter over it, so they were able to still talk about it. But with this, it's not getting any coverage. So people are learning about it from TikTok and X, which in a way is even more emotional because in real time you're getting updates from individuals, and some it's like they're not posting after because they're dead. Like I hate to be morbid like that, but that's a really that's a different lens than like seeing a new newscaster broadcasting after the fact. So we're like, our emotions are so much more in it, but also people are so much more detached too if they're choosing to be detached, because there's no centralized thing forcing us to have our eyes on it, because they don't want our eyes on it because it's like 10 times worse.
Yeah, that's really scary to think about. And also an area being that dangerous, I doubt there's a lot of independent journalists that are willing to put their lives also at stake just to get close to
What's going
the
on?
area
Yeah.
and boots to the ground. I mean, I commend and respect anyone who's willing to do that, but I don't know if it really is what it's looked like in the footage. I don't think I would if I was an independent journalist or reporter.
Yeah.
Right now I see like the AI simulations on the weather channels of the water rising or what that
Yeah.
would look like. Have you seen that?
It's really
So
scary.
that's what our trad media is doing. It's just doing simulation videos
did
to
you
showcase how horrible it actually is, because they can't get the footage from the source.
They did one that was horrible. They told people, this killed me along with the video of the 7-year-old, but they're telling people, if you can't evacuate, write your name and your birthday on you and your kid's arm and
Are
stomach.
you kidding me?
So if we find your body, we can identify
This
you.
is like war.
Yeah,
This is battlefield behavior.
Yeah, it's so dystopia. It's so scary, and something that I think we should talk about before we dive into it, which you brought up before we recorded, is that even if you don't live somewhere where there's a hurricane, this is coming near and dear to you. Like Wyoming is having fires right now.
Yep.
Maui had a fire, and my prediction is we're heading to whatever the cause is. Let's just put that as a question mark. We're heading towards either
Intamin.
you are going to be in a drought or you're going to be in a flood. And then we're going to figure out what happens to your land and your belongings and your life. To me, that's where we're heading when you look at the trajectory of things. So if you don't think a hurricane applies to you, there may be something else out there that is coming to
Every
neighborhood
place
near you.
has different climate conditions and different weather that's more likely to be fitting in certain regions. Like in Arizona, for example, something I was just thinking about, like what would that be here? Is that the drought? Would that be the most likely candidate for
I mean, it
an
depends
extreme
on
weather
where
disaster?
in Arizona, because we're such a diverse state. I think it's gonna be.
We
a
get
drought.
fires here as well.
I think it's gonna be drought. I think it's gonna be fire. I think it's gonna be it could be flash flooding in certain areas. Remember, it flooded so bad at Xavier. We have haboob season that school was canceled on the freeways, and all it takes is they shut the freeways down for a few days, and that can wreak chaos. So I don't know. And maybe it's not going to be everywhere. Maybe like to me, I think that actually the big cities aren't going to be as affected first. I think it's going to be the rural areas, and then they're going to inch their way closer and closer. So, and you're seeing that with these storms, that the big cities aren't being hit as hard, or they're getting relief faster because A, they have the infrastructure, but B, that seems where the federal government's priorities are. And it's because I think that those cities are going to be the 15-minute cities. And you already see that if you ask any AI, is Tampa scheduled to be a 15-minute city? And you'll see, yes, it is. It has a contract with these companies. So it's not something that they're hiding.
And for AI to know that, it's scanning the internet from years ago.
Correct.
A lot of the time. So this isn't news that it's live piecing that together with. That's from a while ago.
Correct. And I feel like before we get into what's causing this, is it man-made? Is it not? Is it a combination? I think it's really important to remember, I forget who in our federal government has said this, but this is like a common thing. Never let a disaster go to waste. And when you saw COVID, there was a lot of this same debate. Was this lab leak? Was this man-made? Was this leaked on purpose? Was this from a flea market? Remember how much, like, was it a bioweapon from China? Was it a bioweapon from the U.S. on its own people? Like, I don't know. There was a lot of debate there, right?
But whatever it is, it happened.
It happened.
So let's use this as an opportunity to reset and reestablish
Control.
initiatives that control and probably do another slew of things.
Yes.
So it's not just one, but it's an opportunity for reset and change.
Same with 9/11.
Quote unquote change.
9/11. It's like,
yeah.
who okay, we can argue about who did it or what tower or Tower 7 or this insurance. Like, okay, yeah, that's a conversation. But what I'm saying is that.
Wait, hold on. I saw something. Okay, is there a reason why 911 is 9/11?
I don't know.
Has it always been 911 or did that come out of 9/11?
Think it was 911 was first. Let me ask Roke right now.
Like I thought of that the other day and I was
too.
like, wait,
as a kid.
that is crazy. What are the odds that would be?
I'm gonna ask him.
That would just happen to have fallen on the same date as 911.
What came first? 9/11, the terrorist attack, or the phone dialing 911 to the cops?
Live AI usage.
Says it began in 1968.
Okay,
Dude,
so
I'm
that is
telling you.
freaky.
I'm telling you, they do weird things like that. It's to mess with your mind.
It's hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on previous episodes, but numbers, symbols,
Numerology.
oftentimes phrases. There are plantations, small and large, in so many places that we don't notice, but they're connected. And
there's a lot of numerology with Diddy.
Okay.
4, the number 4, like Jay-Z's album 444. If you look at the 25th, a lot of the people that died surrounding Diddy, Beyonce, like all these people, Michael Jackson died, I think, on the 25th. That other girl who was like the competitor of Beyonce, something with her, 25th. Who are the other
Wait, 25 as in quarter?
They died like June 25th.
But what does that relate to the 4? Is it because it's a quarter?
No, I'm just saying I don't understand all the numerology because to me it's just like it's almost too dark. Like I don't even want to put my energy to like understand it. But I've listened to enough podcasts where they've explained like, okay, similar to like if you read the Bible, numerology is in the Bible. So we're getting kind of off topic, but this is important.
All because I asked about the 9/11 number thing.
So like 7 is a biblical number. 3 is a biblical number. Yeah, like those two numbers are very like biblically good
3
numbers.
is dark, and I've been trying. So
It can be dark.
Recently, I've been waking up. Actually, not recently. For about a year and a half. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I've been waking up at 3 a.m. and I now have a novena that I'm saying when I wake up at 3 a.m. because I am trying everything. I don't drink water too close to bed. Like I'm waking up for another reason. Other
You're
than
doing all the physical things.
Yeah,
right?
like I have the physical parts in control, but it's definitely something beyond that, beyond my comprehension. And so I'm trying to figure out if that'll help it. But the reason for that is because apparently it's like the darkest hour. Like it's where the sun is furthest away from that part of Earth. Like it's the darkest part of the night. And so
it's when Jesus died.
Yeah.
At 3
There's so much correlation and it's freaky. Like every time I wake up at that time, I feel like something's wrong. Yeah. So I'm working on it.
My a lady that we're both like friends with and talked to, she told me I had a similar thing where I woke up at 3 and had like a very, for what felt like, and I'm not being melodramatic, it felt like a spiritual attack. Mm-hmm. And she explained it's because a lot of like 3 a.m. is the inverse of I think 3 p.m., which is when Jesus died. So it is like the darkest hour. And so that's when people do have like bad dreams or they'll wake up from like a bad dream and stuff like that. So I know this sounds like ooh, like magic, whatever, but I'm just saying superstitious. But I think that we're so detached from the physical or the spiritual world because we've been so interested in the physical world the last 100 years and so interested in science that we forget these like ancient things that have existed for a long time. And when you look at numbers, like numbers are so, and and math is so tied into science and beauty and the structure of our earth and solar system and whatnot. So it'd be stupid to not think that that doesn't have like some sort of psychological, spiritual effect on us. And so,
it's a language. I mean, I think the numerical language transcends over every type of culture.
Yeah.
It's over every time frame, time period. It's very transcendental. So I agree. I do think that it has some meaning, but I definitely am not as involved or well read on how the numerology plays into like Hollywood or the elites. I don't look at that, but I do with other hidden in plain sight stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So where were we going? 9/11. So 9/11, another example. We could go back and forth.
An opportunity for change.
An opportunity for change. We got, we have the Patriot Act, we have TSA, we have the fact that you can't bring a water bottle on a plane. I mean, the list goes on. Like, it's chaos. So the point is that whatever is going on with this, we'll table that. It's an opportunity for change. It's an opportunity for doing the things that the machine has wanted to do for a long time. And there's a lot of benefits to it as well. And it seems like a very similar playbook than COVID, but it's weird that it took me so long for the buttons to like click.
Yeah, same. I still have skepticism with how this weather is being created.
Yeah.
I mean, no one listening to this right now is a stranger to a hurricane. We're taught as little kids what different types of weather are. We learn about hurricanes. We know that they are a part of Earth's, cycles, its whole system. Yeah. However, we've been kind of exploring some pieces of information and sources that are reporting to document information on machines that can generate weather or simulate weather on a very large scale for the past 3-4 years. We posted a clip earlier this week from our Escaping La La Land episode where we were out in California and we were talking about I think most of that episode was Black Rock related and
15-minute city.
Yeah, and the exodus of cities and people wanting to live in other areas but can't.
Yeah.
Because it's too difficult to own land. It's just you have to rent. So that was most of what that episode was about. But we integrated a little bit of our findings on China and how they were mass producing rain machines to quote unquote benefit their agriculture techniques. Yeah. And I remember when I saw that, I thought it was so bizarre. Yeah. I was like, why do we need this? I understand it was all in the framing of, China is this large population and they need more food, therefore we need to amp up agriculture. But I think I knew deep down that technology like that could be weaponized. Yeah. Even if they're saying that it was mostly going to go toward ag, we have to assume that any tech that's that new and that impressive and capable can be weaponized in a bad way. So I think that's what I thought. And so we talked about it. But obviously there are a lot more developments happening. And this isn't just in China. I think that we have this here in America right now.
Yeah, I want to talk about Lyndon B. Johnson, and I want to talk about that we were probably using this in the Vietnam War.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Okay. This is new. I haven't heard this before. If I can
pull up.
Oh, I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson.
He was a dark fella.
Haven't heard that name in a while.
He is dark. Okay.
What do I know about Lyndon B. Johnson?
He took over after Kennedy was assassinated. And he is not a good person. He was quoted to saying, and he used the N-word, like, population voting for me for the rest of my life. He basically was like, he set up all the government assist programs to be just enough where it kept you alive, but not enough where you could get ahead. And so they would always, that demographic of people would always be voting Democrat.
Okay.
So he was but he was racist. Like, he didn't really care. Yeah.
No, you can't say the N-word on national television.
Well, I think this might have been like a private. I don't know if he said that on public.
Oh, got it.
Okay. Did we do cloud seeding or weather weaponization in the Vietnam War? Yes. Yes, during the Vietnam War.
Grok says yes, period.
I shouldn't be laughing. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. engaged in a cloud seeding operation known as Operation Popeye. This operation aimed to extend the monsoon season over specific areas of the Ho Chi Minh Trail by seeding clouds with silver iodine and lead iodine. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Iodine.
Yeah. The goal was to increase rainfall, therefore softening the road surfaces, causing landslides, essentially making the trails less suitable for North Japanese supplies lines. What does this sound like? I don't know.
So they were using it as like full-blown battle strategy.
Yeah. This was an attempt to use weather modification as a weapon of war, specifically to disrupt logistics and military movements of the enemy. It operated from 1962 to 1972. 1967 to 1972, and was a highly classified program initially. It was designed to make the ground muddy and therefore impede movement of troops, make supplies hard to get.
Yeah.
And it said the slogan was "Make mud, not war."
Wow.
And I've been saying for a while, what if they're getting us into all these wars to come up with weapons to then use against us? They experiment with all these things decades ahead of time, and then they bring it here to use on their own citizens.
And we're the lab rats.
We're the last.
When Earth is the lab, like we're the lab.
We're the lab.
The whole planet is.
And you can get to come back to MK Ultra. When the military says, "Oh my gosh, we have to use this to get ahead. We have to use this to win the war." That's how you get the approvals to do this crazy stuff.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like Roseanne Barr, I need a cigarette, but like, I mean, you see what I'm going? Like,
we need to have Roseanne on the show.
Literally, that's
Roseanne,
like,
can you please come on?
Roseanne, please
come hang out with us. We have a little nice area on the couch over there.
Yeah, come to Phoenix. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's possible. I came to this realization, like anything is possible right now. I feel like I go through ways where I'm like, okay, there are some conspiracy theories that I'm still thinking are a conspiracy theory and I'm not convinced yet.
Yeah.
I think I'm at the point where there's no such thing as a conspiracy theory. They're all just happening. Yeah. So I think I told you that a couple nights ago, and I still am
nothing's
in that.
Off the table.
Nothing is off the table.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot of patterns repeating from 2020 to now 2024 in the same time period before the election. But the big difference, you guys, is we had biowarfare in 2020 and now we have weather warfare on a very large scale. We're now going into over 2 weeks of this hurricane drama, and Hurricane Milton hasn't even technically hit yet.
It's supposed to be Cat 5.
Think about the aftermath of that and how much time that'll take. That might even run up all the way to the election and beyond it.
It's not. And the thing is that now they're changing the rules. So a lot of these states have pretty tight election rules. And yeah, so a lot of these states have pretty tight election rules. And we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay.
So just to add a few more points onto the weather convo and the tech, that's kind of the extent of what we know about those exact devices. We know that there are reports of a lot of different types of them, but I don't know the names. I don't know who's producing these. I don't know which country they're coming out of.
I know cloud seeding is definitely one.
They're here. Yeah.
That's like, you can go on, look it up, and you'll find like clips of people on CBS or even The View. There's one of someone coming on The View and explaining this.
Okay.
And a lot of it's not for like nefarious reasons. It's like the original reason is to help, maybe divert these storms or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, but it's definitely something that's out there, and like people can do their own research. But that's not the main reason what we wanted to talk about. We kind of wanted to talk about the pattern recognition in terms of this in relation to medical loops, to what happened with COVID, to kind of all the other things. And we've actually made this chart that you can check out on our Instagram and X page. And it's called the Natural Disaster Paper Trail, which could kind of be shortened to Natural Disaster Loop. And we kind of mapped out everything that's going on here. So I think this might be a good thing to kind of walk people through. And then we can kind of dive into like the climate change stuff too. Okay. So the first thing that we have is valuable land indoors natural disaster. So a lot of people don't know this, but Maui was valuable land, Lahaina, where that fire happened.
Oh yeah, it's like the closest to a blue zone we have in the United States. I mean, the blue zones are really, really sacred areas where very healthy people live. And Italy's one, parts of Asia are one. But I genuinely think in terms of the richness of the soil and how temperate the weather is there, it's a beautiful area. If anyone's been to Hawaii, it's amazing. So it's really sad that such a horrible fire happened there. And I don't think that they've recovered.
No.
Yet.
And then in North Carolina, it's now come out that there was lithium contracts, and the people, same in Maui, same there. Now also in Wyoming, where these fires are happening, same thing. Apparently, a lot of lithium. And so I think people were talking about how.
So unironically or ironically, coincidentally, where these horrible weather emergencies are happening, fires being considered weather in that, description, are happening right where these pockets of lithium are, so that we can mine the areas and make more batteries because we need to make more electric cars.
Because we need to stop climate change.
Okay. So wherever the lithium is going, clearly we need that. And so the lengths they're going to get people out of those areas and think that they're just leaving because this is happening and no one's controlling it.
And even if no one's like doing cloud seeding or adding to the weather, I can tell you straight up with fires. So the reason why California has so many fires compared to Arizona is because we do something called deforestation. Which, do you want to explain what deforestation is? Do you know?
As far as like like cleaning the brush?
Yeah, like we burn our brushes.
Yes,
seasonally.
We burn the brush because if we don't, the brush will light on fire.
Right.
And California doesn't do this because they think that it's supporting the climate change, agenda, and it's actually better for the environment not to do it. But when they don't do that, fires are more likely to happen, and then
more
they
stronger.
are way stronger and literally happen in like a split second. Yeah. So it's unfortunate that they have that stance because I think that's a really big reason why the fires happen so often there.
Yeah. And then like with Maui, they told people like not to evacuate. They sent kids that were safe at school back into the fires. And they burned to death, and that did not need to happen. They closed the roads down so people couldn't escape. I don't know if it was FEMA or who exactly, probably. And this is the problem, is that it's like, even if they're not starting the problem, they're making it worse by like not managing the system. They're not managing it properly. And with North Carolina, you saw this too with FEMA, where they were MIA. And it's like, now it's going to be easier for them to get access to that land, because not only did those people maybe die in the initial thing, but they're also continuing to die because they aren't doing search and rescue, because they aren't getting supplies.
So not only is FEMA not proactive with anything for future events, they're also terrible at being reactive as well, because everything that they do after a weather emergency is hit is inferior to all the people in the area that's enduring that. Yeah. And that's really frustrating, both financially and just safety wise. Like if you don't have if you're in any area, no matter what state you're in, like we all need to understand that there is some weather emergency that could happen. Everyone needs to be given an evacuation plan, on a big scale. And I don't know if that's from FEMA or from local government, but no area is exempt because it looks to be good weather there.
Yeah, no, exactly. And a lot of, I think my issue with FEMA too is like, not only are they less efficient than the citizens, but they're preventing the citizens from stepping in with their inefficiencies because they're saying they have to have control. Same with the FAA. The FAA was like, you can't fly your helicopters, you can't fly your planes. And it took Elon getting on the phone with Buttigieg to be like, I'm dropping my Starlinks. I'm doing it.
Like,
and
you guys aren't doing this. I'm coming in.
Yeah.
Thank gosh for that.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, before we move on from the Maui event, I just am curious. So it was from a power line. Isn't that what they said? Was that ever disproven? It was from a fallen or collapsed power line that lit on fire.
Okay,
we never traced it to the source, and I feel like the media just moved straight into, okay, this horrible, devastating thing happened, but we never got to the why.
We never got to the why. Tulsi has a really good episode with Rogan on it.
Okay,
I wish
need to listen to that.
I was way more invested in the aftermath than I was in the why. I just remember the why did not make sense to me.
Well, it's also what they do is the media. And at this time, Elon hadn't bought Twitter yet, I don't think.
No.
We didn't have
We did.
We did? Okay.
Because I was seeing things like, I don't know if this is true, but it was like, why? Because I think like Oprah has a house there. Like a lot of celebrities have houses there.
Oprah does. Mark Zuckerberg owns like all of Kauai now. He owns like thousands of acres.
And the celebrity big
so
houses
sad.
that were right next to, is it Lahaina?
Lahaina, yep.
They did not get touched. And there are these conspiracies about like rich people painting the roofs blue because they thought the fires were coming from like lasers. I don't know if that's true. I never could like prove that.
What would the blue do?
Deflect it.
Okay.
So it wouldn't hit those houses.
Oh,
so it was like a controlled fire. But I will say, I don't know what caused it. It could have been the power line. Again, I don't know. My question is, how did it spread so fast? And why were children told to go back into the fire? Why were people who were trying to evacuate couldn't evacuate? Those are where more of my questions come in, because I'm like, again, fine, I'll give you what the why is, but like, why? What, like you said, the evacuation plan, the aftermath, why it was so horrible. And then I know that FEMA wasn't letting people bring supplies in to help people rebuild too, or rescue people. Like private citizens couldn't get in, because if you think about that situation, it wasn't like North Carolina where the access was hard. Like people could, after that fire was put out, come up and help people. Like there's no reason to close off the roads. There's no like safety issue.
Yeah, it's different than Hawaii, where there's islands and you physically can't just go swimming in the ocean to get from island to island. It's not as landlocked.
I'm saying the opposite, that like I think the people in North Carolina are more landlocked because the infrastructure's down.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hawaii, the infrastructure wasn't down. Like people that were on other islands were even trying to come up with boats.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, or even roads from other parts of that island.
But still, like that being in the middle of the Pacific, it's not like they could just easily get back to the mainland of the U.S. You know, it's a little bit harder. I mean, yes, the boat option was
but it
there.
was one small town. There was people from other islands coming in, or other parts of that island. And FEMA was like, we are not letting you in, even though the infrastructure, they could have gotten in logistically.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But in North Carolina, there's a lot of logistic issues because of the landscape of that being not flat. Like I'm saying Hawaii, that island, that area is more flat, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Appalachian Mountains are massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the biggest mountain range there.
So there's nothing that FEMA could hide behind. Like, why aren't you letting people into this one town? Like, it would be like if I lived in Phoenix and you lived in Scottsdale, there was a fire in Scottsdale, and then FEMA's like, you can't come to Scottsdale to bring your friend food.
Even though it's flat and the roads are totally open and there's a grid and there's no hurdle.
And that was when we first saw the $750. I think it was only $700. They bumped it by $50.
Yeah, can we talk about this? Yeah. Okay. So how much money have we given to other countries in the last 4 years? Billions? We know we gave almost $100 billion to Afghanistan in the botched Afghanistan withdrawal.
That was just the one.
We know that for sure.
So we have
billions to Ukraine. Billions to
this is for this
the
year.
Israeli-Hamas war.
This is for 2024 so far.
Okay.
24.4 billion to Ukraine. 11.3 billion to Israel, 1.9 billion to Ethiopia. I don't know what that's for.
Okay.
1.6 to Jordan, 1.4 to Egypt, 1.1 to Afghanistan.
What?
1.1 to Somalia, 1.1 to 1 billion to Yemen, a little under a billion to the Congo, a little under a billion to Syria, and then $9,000 per illegal immigrant who has entered the U.S. on average.
All right, so immigrants are getting $9,000, and Americans that are dealing with a life-threatening weather emergency are getting less than $1,000.
And it's a loan that you have to pay back.
And it's a loan, and a lot of them are getting denied.
A lot of them are getting denied, and if you don't pay it back within a certain time frame, I think you have to give your land over. And
whatever's left.
Once your insurance comes in, you also have to repay it, I think, immediately. And the insurance thing, we were talking about that, but I remember a year ago, kind of when the Maui thing was happening. Again, I did not put all this together until this happened now.
Yeah, we need to look into the insurance patterns with that post-Maui fire.
So,
because I bet that's the same as what's happening in Florida right now.
Yeah, I don't know what happened before the fire. I just remember that around the time of the fire, I was hearing that it was really hard to get insurance in Florida. And I know it is harder to get insurance there because of, like you're taking a risk living by water. I get that. I get that if someone wants to pay more for insurance, okay, pay a premium. But for this many people not to get insurance, and it was people that were like even more inland, I was like, this is odd. This feels weird to me. And then I was hearing through my own experience, I'm in real estate and I own real estate too. So I was like, for my own purposes in residential and commercial, it's been harder to get insurance in Arizona. And I'm like, that's really odd because we really don't have any natural disasters.
Does that depend on the home type? But is that for condos as well?
I mean, they were saying that it was especially tough for condos, but it was kind of like across the board depending on like where you lived in the state. And then I was thinking, who doesn't want us to own homes? World Economic Forum, oh, nothing, you'll be happy. What just happened to Maui? Oh, they lost their homes. And I go, oh, this is what they're going to, like, I was like, somehow they'll take our stuff because we won't be able, like, we won't have insurance. And sometimes you can't get a bank loan if you can't get insurance. So let's say you're like trying to buy a condo or a house and you can't get a residential, you can't get it insured. Like an insurance company's like, I'm sorry, I won't insure this property. It's too risky. Well, you will not get a bank loan to buy that house. So I wasn't even thinking about like the weather component yet. I was just thinking about logistically, like most of us cannot even we can't even afford a house with a conventional loan, let alone paying cash. So if we can't have houses that are insured, you're not going to be able to get a loan to buy a house. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like
it's just a wall.
It's just a wall.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to be a renter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really ingenious.
Yeah. So I was like, And that's kind of, so that was wild.
So with let's take Florida, for example. If you have a condo and you aren't able to get insurance to insure your condo or something, say in a high rise that's off the ground, the reason why that's fishy is because that's definitely a less vulnerable property than, say, a home that's on the water on an island in the Florida Keys that is sea level and, could be very prone to getting completely destroyed and wrecked by a hurricane. Yeah. So that's different. So it depends on the property type. But what we're seeing is this pattern happening to all property types, no matter what, their vulnerability level is.
Yeah, it's happening in a state
that's
like
where
Arizona
I'm like,
too.
Okay, there's definitely a bigger scheme going on here. This isn't just, all of these properties are genuinely just so vulnerable because these storms are that bad.
Yeah, and I've seen now too that I've seen rumblings about like car insurance going away too. Because there's so many there's so many illegals on the road that the car people are tired of, like, if someone gets in a car accident having to cover both cars because they don't have insurance. So like that's a whole nother. I haven't really fully dived into that, but I think that
another means of getting people either out of some of these red states where actually a lot is really great. And I think DeSantis has done a pretty good job since he's been in office in Florida. But yeah, they're trying to consolidate groups of people into specific areas that they pinpoint and pick out and become the candidates for these 15-minute cities, and then also out of the state entirely. I feel like that's what they would ideally like.
Yeah, I mean, can we talk about the fact that when I first saw the map of the first Hurricane Helene, I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know a lot about hurricanes, but I was like, this is odd that it hit the hardest inland.
Yeah.
Like it was a little odd to me.
Yeah.
And the cities didn't get hit as hard, and that seems where like most of the relief is going. And then you start to see
that'd be like a hurricane bypassing Houston and just happening in Dallas.
Yeah,
like how does it like?
I'm just like, I'm a little, and I get like the wind carries it and stuff. And then something else that someone's brought up too is that what's happening with these hurricanes is that normally as it moves through land, it gets weaker and weaker because that's how a hurricane dies, is it has to go through land in order to dissipate, right? But like with this one, it's got stronger. And then with
the more inland it got.
And then with the hurricane, the one that's coming in Florida, people are bringing up if it goes all the way through Florida like it says it will, it's going to have to pinpoint back onto the East Coast because that water has to go somewhere. So it might even hit the East Coast again. I don't know, in the same area or maybe higher up, but and also it hit the hardest counties hit were all red counties, and we're in an election and we knew an October surprise was coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, how the hell are people supposed to vote when they don't have a home? There's no post office. There's no place to vote. Like
no car.
And where are their ballots going? Are we going to be able to reprint ballots? Is an illegal going to steal their ballot? I'm sorry. These are the questions that I have, and I don't want to make this
They're very valid questions.
I don't want to make this about an election. Like, I'm not trying to be political, but I know that those people probably would want their voices heard and to be able. They don't want to be disrupted. The last thing I'm sure they want to think about is voting, but they also know that if they don't get the right person in, that they can't just have $750, $100. Like, they need someone in office that's going to like give them money and not let the FEMA money go to illegal immigrants, which is another point we even talked about. We talked the FEMA money. It went to the illegals.
That's why I said let's talk about the list of how much money we've given to all these other countries, including where all the FEMA. So basically, all of the FEMA budget has gone toward illegal immigration.
Yeah,
that's it.
And the loophole was that,
and we have none of it left over to help Americans in this predicament. That could be you. That could be
it's crazy.
Us in an emergency in Arizona, but no, it just happened to be.
Yeah, can you break that down? Because I think a lot of people who don't live in this area who don't have hurricanes, they're like, this is a depressing story. I don't want to think about it. I just want to like be in my own bubble, which I totally get that. They're like, get me back on the Instagram algorithm of cute dogs and babies. Like, I totally get needing that.
It's sometimes hard. It's a lot to digest, and no one teaches you about these government agencies and what they, who they serve and what they do. And so FEMA particularly focuses on natural events like this. And apparently DeSantis has been in communication with Kamala, and she like refused to talk to him. Did you see stuff like that?
No, he's been talking to Biden because the chain of command is that you talk to the president.
Okay.
And he said that he's actually.
Sorry, I just forget that Biden's still the president.
The problem that I know. The problem with North.
I forget he's alive.
Is that rain?
No, it's my AC.
Oh. The problem with North Carolina,
the rain machine,
I think is it has a Democrat governor, right? It's either a Democrat governor or a rhino.
Okay. It's a swing state, though.
It's a swing state. Florida has DeSantis, who's like, he cares about his state. He's not messing around with FEMA. Like, he's gonna look out for his people,
Yeah.
So I think the story was that Kamala said that she called him and he didn't pick up, and he said that wasn't true.
Just
and
giving him a ring.
And then I think Biden also said it wasn't. I don't know, but the chain of command is he deals directly with Biden and FEMA. It's not the VP.
Okay.
That being said, I think people need to think about: do you want an administration that prioritizes giving our money overseas into migrants?
Illegals?
And I'm sorry, the reports have come out: 325,000 missing children from these migrations.
Yeah, where are these kids?
Where are these kids? Do you care about human trafficking? Like, that is, do you want to be a humane person? We have to stop this. We have to have order. Like, we cannot have these kids be trafficked.
I think a lot goes back to what you just said about how it's so easy to distract ourselves with other seemingly more important, pressing matters that actually directly affect our lives. But I feel like we all need, and this is something I'm just trying to remind myself more often, is like I'm digesting all of this news. I'm consuming a lot. I'm trying to stay well read, especially because every week it seems like a historic event is happening that I don't want to forget and that I want to see, in real time. But I just need to remind myself that could be me. Really, I just feel like people don't do that.
Yeah, and
it takes a muscle in your brain to try. I know not everyone's the same level of empathetic, but I don't know. Just try a little bit harder.
And even if you're not empathetic, be selfish. If you can't get to that level of empathy, and be selfish and be like, if this is, the fact that we're seeing this fire in Wyoming and 2 hurricanes at the same time, and we're having record heat here with not a lot of rain. Same with California. Mm-hmm. California had fires recently. Like, this is coming to you soon. Mm-hmm. So you better wake up and realize who is there to help you and who isn't. And you better be voting. You better be making friendships, making alliances, having a plan that's in your best interest, and at least have the knowledge.
Purchasing assets, actually, like real physical assets, not just, being frivolous with your money and who try to be proactive.
And who do you trust? Who do you trust? Because another thing FEMA has the power to do, and I didn't realize this, is because they have like that redistributing power, and they have to give their resources to who needs it most. Let's say you prepped for the storm and someone else didn't, or someone's not even a citizen. They're an illegal migrant and they just got dropped off.
They're like, how did I even get here? Where am I?
Okay. Let's say that.
Why am I in a hurricane?
Let's make this situation even more clear. Let's say an illegal criminal, a murderer, okay? He gets dropped off.
The worst person you could possibly think of.
Okay? And he's in our country, which they are. They're here. The stats came out recently.
Many of them.
I think it's in it's at least over it's in the thousands for sure. Let's say they're in North Carolina, and then there's you, and maybe you just lost everything, but you have a backpack of food, and your house has some dry storage, or I don't know, you have some stuff to get you through like a week. And FEMA comes in and they knock on your door and they say, oh my gosh, Jordan, you have all this stuff. This person over here that apparently has a criminal background and has murdered people, they don't have any food. So
you have to give it to them.
Do you want to be someone that is suspicious of these groups, to be like, I'm not answering my door, or I'm hiding this? Or do you want to be so naive and so trusting of people that are abusing you?
Yes.
That you get screwed over when this happens to you.
Yes.
Who do you want to be in that situation? I don't know. I'm sorry.
I like that example a lot. I think people just always want to be on the side of being a good Samaritan. I think I really admire that in a lot of people. However, this system isn't working. We definitely can create a better legal process to still help people that want to come here. We're not talking about blocking people from coming to the United States of America. That's not the conversation.
No.
We are welcoming people. We just want there to be a process. We want there to be a system, because unfortunately that's the only way to vet criminals and bad people versus people who should be here.
Yeah.
If they are qualified to be, I'm probably saying the wrong words there. But
No, you are. You're saying
I'm
the
just
right
trying
thing.
to emphasize, we're just advocating for a process. Can we have a better process?
We're just
And the process cannot be to use our taxpayer dollars, because we aren't giving the government
For
that
an
much.
app.
Yeah, for an app that is just like a candy store for these people. It has everything for them. It's so set up, and people who are going through a natural, like a natural disaster, massive emergency on U.S. soil cannot even get $1,000 to save their homes, to fight for their kids back, to, make sure their vehicles are running, to get food. If that does not enrage you as an American person,
something's wrong.
then something's wrong, and you need to do a little bit more of a deep dive into this stuff, because it's very different than COVID. Very different than COVID.
It's hard because it's similar to COVID in the sense that, like, it's different, but I think in COVID, it's like they play with same with the illegal immigration crisis. They play with our emotions, like you said, that like we want to be good people, we want to be good Samaritan. We all,
Yes.
most people are decent humans. They want to do the right thing. They want to be kind. They want to be generous. Your instincts are correct, but that the system is manipulating your instincts for their evil agenda. And
For COVID, it was, don't be around your grandparents because you don't want to get them sick.
Yeah.
It was stand, 5 feet apart, or what was it?
wear a mask.
Yeah, wear a mask.
Yeah.
All of these things, and
It-
very physical things they wanted us to do. But so it was such a test, and I think we learned a lot by seeing how many people actually complied.
Yeah, and I think more people are waking up even post-COVID, which is amazing.
Where do you think our taxpayer money, like a frustrating amount of our money, went toward during COVID that we weren't in? So, was it the vaccine? Paying for these vaccines, paying for these companies?
Paying for the vaccine, I think it was subsidizing a lot of corporations,
Okay.
like, that then should have fought a little bit more to, like, stay open. Like, if the government wasn't subsidizing these big companies while they had to stay closed or, like, couldn't make as much money.
Meanwhile, the small businesses didn't get any.
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest deal. I mean, there was, like, PPP money, but, I mean, PPP money was still, like, a lot of it was, like, a loan. A lot of it, like, it wasn't enough to keep you going. And a lot of people now who took the PPP money that was more of a loan are stuck in this wheelhouse because now they're staying open they're losing money every month, but they have to stay open so that they can pay their loan.
Okay.
So it's like, I don't know. I'd have to really look into the COVID stuff, but I think a lot of it, because it wasn't going to foreign aid as much because we weren't in these wars, because it was still under Trump, at least the end part of it.
I was just trying to think of a direct example that we could relate to, having gone through COVID, that reflects the same thing that's happening, where we're frustrated that there's no FEMA money left over.
I think it was
for
frustrating
people
when
in
people
the event.
were only getting, what was the money the individual people were getting?
The stimulus.
Yeah, like, okay, you're telling me I can't go to work, but you're giving me
Stimulus money.
$600. That's not going to cover my rent. It's kind of the same thing,
I know.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, you're going to shut down
At least
the
no one was
government?
denied from stimulus money, or maybe there were people.
No.
But right now with the FEMA situation,
This is way
people are
worse.
getting denied on
This
a mass
This
scale.
is way worse. It's way worse. Yeah, I think you're right. In terms
Because
of
there's
the
no
money.
more money.
Well, also Trump.
We are so in debt. I'm saying this right now because I'm holding us accountable. We need to do like a mass national debt episode
Yeah.
very soon.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely think that that's one of the biggest.
Yeah.
I think Maha's the most important. Maha, and we just did an episode on this. I think that we're all dying. In terms of my top issues,
Okay, what are your top issues? Maha.
Maha is the top.
Okay.
I think national security is probably the second, and that falls in the conversation with the border crisis. Yeah, so I think that's the second. And then I think the third might be the national debt, because I think that is the hidden
tipping time bomb.
It affects a lot of things, and I think it's a direct issue with inflation, but we don't talk about it enough. Because we've just been in this debt hole for so long that it just seems like it's the norm. Yeah. But no, we can't be the country that we first were if we don't square up at least a little bit more, or try to, and stop increasing the debt. And that means we need to stop giving money to other countries. So it ties in a lot. But I think those three things are probably my top.
Yeah. Mine are no nuclear war. It was Maha.
Could that be national security in a way?
It's national security, but my thing is I don't trust the national security situation. I don't trust my own government.
Yeah.
So I don't trust my own government right now.
Same.
I don't trust my own military. So like when someone's like, okay, I'll give you an example. I love Trump, whatever. But like when he first was saying, "Oh, Iran's going to kill me," my first instinct was, I think you're being set up. Now, let me explain. I think our government does a lot. Not saying that these countries are bad or evil or whatever they are. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them are mixed bags. Some of them, whatever. It's just a different culture. I don't want to live in Iran. But let me just say this. Let me just say this. We definitely helped overthrow their democracy back in the 70s with that's another story for the other day. But what I will say is that was a setup, because Iran is instrumental in World War III. And so if we can blame a president assassination on a foreign power, as opposed to saying that it was our own government, like our own CIA, FBI agencies, then it takes the responsibility off of our corruption. And it puts it on a foreign entity, similar to 9/11. And now it's an excuse for us to be brought into a crisis that they wanted us to be in the beginning. So that's why
it's just redirecting who to put blame, and them trying to preserve the trust with us.
So that's why I would say I don't like to use the word. I mean, national security is important, but I'm saying, like, for me, it's a cleansing of the military industrial complex. Okay. So that and stopping World War III, no nukes, that's my biggest priority, because that's the thing that I have no control over. Mm-hmm. Then it's this natural disasters thing, which wasn't even on my radar, because I feel like that's the second thing I have the least.
I know that kind of needs to be categorized in its own tier, but I don't know what to call it, and I don't know what companies or governmental agencies are behind it. I think that's just something that is going to continue to come out.
I definitely would love.
Like, is it the CIA? Is it the FBI? Who is developing this technology?
I think probably the military, as we said in the Vietnam War. However, I think even if
there's probably private sector too.
Yeah, I at least want someone who has a good heart and cares to be in charge of at least the response agencies at a bare minimum. Mm. If this is going to be a thing that's happening, whatever the cause is, I at least want someone like a Ron DeSantis checking it at the national level. Mm-hmm. Especially now that we live in a state where we have a governor that doesn't probably care about us. So
yeah.
So those are my two top things now, which was kind of out of left field. And then I would say probably the illegal immigration, because I don't want to get killed. I don't want my child to get kidnapped. Again, these are not like I'm not even gotten to the economy yet. These are just like safety things.
We haven't even mentioned that groceries are still absurdly overpriced.
Those are my top three, and they aren't even safety things. And then my fourth is probably Maha, and then the economy. So those 5.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And it's nothing to do with the things that people say that like Trump is obsessed with or whatever. It has nothing to do with
Project 2025.
Yeah,
I still don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
but he's pretty adamant that he doesn't affiliate with that.
I think the Heritage Foundation endorsed Harris. They're the ones who wrote Project 2025. I'm gonna fact check this.
Yeah, so it's just a setup. So something that we used to talk about during the COVID days.
Did the Heritage Foundation endorse Kamala Harris? I feel like I'm my grandma right now.
I know, the speak to text. Can I say something while you're reading, or did you find it?
It's kind of a convoluted answer. It says that there's...
Did they?
I don't think they did not, but people in the organization did that were tied to 2025.
Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Regardless, yeah, he's not
involved with it,
advocating for it. I was just gonna say that back when we were recording and recapping COVID, I feel like we mentioned so many times that there was going to be a next thing, and both of us thought that the next thing would be climate related.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, even though it's been a couple years and there's been a lot that's happened in the past couple years, this is in line with that prediction. Yeah. What we're seeing right now is in line with that, and it's scary to think about because it's not directly climate related, but it is. It's manufactured climate. And if what we're saying about this tech being as powerful as it is, if it's true, then we have unleashed something that is going to be around for a really long time. Yeah. And so I'm going to be following it very closely. But I just kind of I just realized that. I think that, like, we always said, like, a climate pandemic, right?
Yeah.
It was that, and then we thought maybe there would be cyber attacks. A lot of cyber stuff, which there has been, but there just hasn't been a mass grid outage
yet. They're kind of testing it, and also they don't even need to do the cyber attacks because the fallout of these natural disasters is that people are off grid for a long time and don't have gas or whatever. Okay, so something I think that's important for climate, though. I thought that they were gonna go the carbon tax route, and that was how they were gonna get us to do like the own nothing and be happy, and kind of roll out like the carbon digital, like what's the credit score, but it's not a credit score, it's a carbon credit score.
So based on the amount of property you own or the amount of carbon that you're emitting, you'll get taxed higher. I don't know how they would track that.
Well, they started to on planes. So if you go to book a flight, you'll see. You see on Google,
like how many miles you flew.
It'll say that this flight is less carbon. I don't even know how they measure that. Like it's more better for the economy, and they list that right next to the price.
Oh,
we talked about this on an episode. So I always thought that this is a little out of left field. When Maui happened, I was like,
no, they're just going straight to murder.
They're going straight to murder. They're not going even through taxation and stuff.
Yes.
So this is why it's scarier.
It's genocide through they're just going straight to the point.
Yeah. And it's almost funny because it's almost like confirmation bias too for people who have been scared of climate change, because now they're like people who I know who have bought into climate change, that's going to be like a top issue for us. Now they're like, oh my gosh, yes, it is. And they want to give even more power to the government and more money to solve it, when actually that should not be the answer right now. Do you see what I'm saying? Because it's just going to make more problems. It's kind of like COVID. Like the answer to COVID was to take an experimental vaccine that you made millions of dollars from. It wasn't to give people ivermectin. Like it's the same thing. You know? Like, it's a circular problem.
Getting people on board with the long route as opposed to the short route.
Yeah.
Like solutions.
The long route that's just a circle.
Because they're creating it.
It's called the
because they're creating the loop.
Climate loop.
Yes.
Climate change loop.
Yeah.
We're in the climate change loop.
We're in the climate change loop.
So yeah, and then we have that they're denying people permits to rebuild, which we saw that in Hawaii too. They will either confiscate your land or you'll have no choice but to sell. You don't have insurance. They might say that your land is too environmentally toxic, so you can't own it anymore. That happens all the time.
Okay.
And then, then the companies like BlackRock, they get control of it all along for whatever the reason was.
So BlackRock is an example of a big company that's coming in to buy the land.
Yeah,
and develop it. Or are there any other names off the top of your head?
There's the Lithium Group, and I think BlackRock owns some of their shares.
Okay.
I forget the lithium. We posted some videos and stuff, but it has lithium in the name of the company, and they supply.
So there's a couple of them.
There's a couple of them for sure. Yeah, and then it's like, I guess you have to move to a 15-minute city, and you were self-sufficient. And what's interesting about this too is like, I think too, people on the right who want to, just like people on the left who just want to avoid this, people on the right who also want to like avoid this as a problem, they just say, oh, move to buy some land and raise your family, and you don't even have to worry about living in a big city or fighting for a big city or fighting for your hometown, because you can just escape to a rural area. No, you can't. They might be coming for those areas first.
Nowhere's safe.
Nowhere's safe. And like you said a few years ago, we have to fight for America because there's nowhere else to go.
There's nowhere else, land. You guys. It's not going to be Mars. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't want to go to Mars. No. I want to be here.
Yeah.
I think America's beautiful, and yeah, we've explored all of Earth, so there's no other continent that, we just haven't found yet. I'm not a flat earther. I believe that the Earth is round, and that we have satellite imagery of it, and we have explored all of it. So yeah, I know. Americans don't run. I feel like our founding fathers wouldn't want us to run. They'd want us to,
to fight,
to put our foot down and fight.
Yeah.
But the only way to do that is if we're being as attentive as possible to what's happening. And that's so hard to do nowadays because so much in the media is tampered with and biased and just full-blown propaganda. So Elle and I talk a lot about how, we can articulate how to vet and like be skeptical, sort of like skepticism training.
101.
Yeah, because I don't really even know how to explain how I got here. It's taken a lot of time. I didn't grow up like my parents. My parents were well read on the news. I mean, they taught me fundamentals of politics and democracy, but it wasn't until COVID where I really blasted off into a different stratosphere that I had never been before. Yeah. But it was on my own terms. And so there was something really freeing about that too. It wasn't from my family or from teachers or from a boss or people that I worked with. It was from me with the help of you.
Was it curiosity?
Curiosity, frustration.
I
think a lot of momentum comes from feeling frustrated and like you're witnessing really bad things that aren't making sense. And I think it's in that pattern recognition. I just saw a lot of things that weren't connecting, and I wanted to figure out, are they connected somehow, or can I just put in the work and connect them on my own? And so I think that was where the motivation came from.
Yeah. I think it's also feeling very comfortable saying, I don't know, or I was wrong.
Yeah.
Or I thought that I learned something this way, but it wasn't, and making sure it's not tied to your identity, which we talked about that when we first got back on the podcast. But I think that's really important because, I think this is an interesting transition, but are you good if we just transition to Diddy really quickly?
Yeah.
Okay. Or is there anything else on the hurricane?
No.
Okay, I think we talked about it all.
I think we did. Hopefully you guys aren't totally exhausted from that conversation.
Yes, and we'll link ways to help people, and it's on our Instagram because we don't want to just talk about the problem, we want to address it. And there are a lot of boots on the ground people that are doing amazing work. I mean, the videos are so patriotic. These people coming together on mules and donkeys and delivering supplies.
I know.
And trying to reunite children with their parents.
When goats and mules can do more than the federal government.
That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm happy that we have these alternative
Yeah.
options. And
GoFundMe's.
like we
Yeah.
said, Milton is just now hitting, so we might be revisiting this topic
I know.
very soon.
I am.
We'll see what happens.
And everyone say a prayer that Milton could get down, like in terms the categories. Like I said some prayers last night that some
It'll
miracle
settle.
happens, that it gets down to at least a 2 maybe, or a 3. I can't.
Category 6
Insane. I don't
is what
think
they're saying.
that's ever happened before.
It's uncharted.
So yeah, transitioning to Diddy.
I have a thought.
Okay.
Do you think that the Diddy news coming out at the same time of the FEMA botchery is connected at all? Do you think that that was some sort of attention subversion? Because that's something I thought of when.
I think it's definitely a possibility.
It's a tactic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it is kind of its own massive news in its own right. And so I don't want to belittle that. And it's horrible. And it's connected to so many people.
I think what's interesting about Diddy, it's kind of like Epstein. Like, it's going to run its course. And then when it gets so much attention, then the DOJ or the government or whoever's prosecuting it, like, finally has to see the case. And then it's just a matter of who becomes the fall guy. And who does it, and how bad are the consequences, and are people going to be, is the mob going to be satisfied with who they allow to come out to take the fall?
Do we know when the trial is going to be?
I don't know.
It's probably not going to be publicized or recorded.
Well, there's certain rules.
Or some of it.
If it's state versus federal, it can be televised.
Okay.
I forget which one, but so the reason why we were able to see the
Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial,
because it was one or the other, and then the reason why we couldn't see the Maxwell case, but Diddy might die in prison like Epstein. I don't know, and he may be feeling very sad soon, very lonely, very depressed in jail.
Poor guy,
and just off himself.
He's had
when
a
there's
tough life.
No cameras on and no security.
Conveniently,
very conveniently. That may happen, because
yeah. Because clearly you can bring weapons and devices to facilitate that into your cell with you.
So yeah, there's a lot of. I feel like with the Diddy thing, it's not like the hurricane where I have a super cohesive conclusion or super cohesive train of thought. It's all these little bullet points, and I haven't. The Diddy one's harder to pin down what's fact versus not, because I feel like the celebrity stuff is easier to spiral into conspiracy land, whereas I feel like the natural disaster politics stuff, there's a little bit more vetting, it seems like, when it comes to going on X or TikTok, for me at least. I don't know what you feel about that.
I just feel like anytime you're dealing with Hollywood news, you're fighting through a lot of publicists and a lot of individuals. It's so human.
Yeah.
Like allegations and stories. Then you also have drugs and alcohol paired on top of that, which just clouds people's memory. It just makes everything really foggy. But I think we're still seeing a lot of things come out though that are solidifying it more. So it's new in that way. But I was going to ask you, what is Oprah's involvement with Diddy?
I think
Oprah's
what is higher up than him, but I'll get to that in a minute. I think
higher up in what way?
So
this whole scheme?
What I can say about Diddy and Epstein is they're middle managers, right? So they're not the top dog. They have handlers.
They're generals.
They're generals in the situation. And their job, now people might think, a normie would think, Jeffrey Epstein, he liked younger girls. He wanted to hook up with 16 and 17-year-olds. And that's kind of the story that you got when you watched the Netflix documentary.
Yeah, it's pretty black and white.
Now, that's not really that's the surface story. That's the story they have to tell you. Same with Diddy. It's okay, Diddy, he had underage people, grooming people, a lot of having sex with minors, maybe hire minors, boys and girls, I don't know, like party crazy time, like that. And not saying that's good, that's bad, but it's very low level hanging fruit. Now, what's really going on is that this is a blackmail operation. And if there's anything that I've learned about the US, we are run by blackmail. We've been run by it by a very long time. And that's what's made the country kind of work for the last 40 years. And that's what's made the country work somewhat under Biden. Not really, but like we're not all dead. It could be worse.
And there are sacrificial lambs that take falls.
Yes.
For much higher up individuals that are actually the instigators to begin with.
Yeah. And I think Epstein's job was, we want control of the science community, because when you have control of the science community, then you can push narratives like COVID simultaneously. You can push narratives like climate change with no pushback, because imagine why were scientists going to Epstein's Island? Why was Bill Gates going to Epstein's Island? Because they were getting blackmail on these people.
Never had more distrust in science and scientists.
Yeah, because imagine you know, you're a scientist, and maybe you probably most of these people are not pedophiles. Like, it's not like their sexual preference is what I mean. What most likely happened, and this is not excusing it, but what most likely happened is they got to the island, especially the one-time people. They had drunk. They were having fun. Maybe they didn't ask for a girl's age. Maybe they were roofied and someone took a photo with them in it. This is, and you see, okay, same with Diddy. It's like, maybe you are someone coming up in Hollywood. You're just invited to Diddy. You don't know. Like, I'm going to Diddy party. It's going to be fun. Next thing you know, you're getting your drink gets drugged, and now you have blackmail of you with a young person. And and some of it, I'm not saying that's all of it. Some of it, I think people were blackmailed going into it, like knowing that, but it's a mixture of all of that. And my main point is that it's a blackmail operation so that you can get everyone on the same page in different industries. And with Hollywood, it's like really odd to see so many people all back the same politicians. Like, that's not just organically happening.
I know.
Like, someone's calling their desk and being
it's like they're contractually obligated
Yeah.
for the industry to stay relevant or to stay employed or whatever they're doing.
So you don't go to jail.
Not get killed, like whacked by these people for outing them.
Yeah. Or they don't want to, they don't want to out you. Like, let's say you're Jay-Z and someone has dirt on you. Of course you're going to endorse Biden. But as a regular person, you're looking at that, you're like, Biden said, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. And he's like, not a very...
That's one of my favorite quotes of his.
One of the most iconic rappers of all time is endorsing him. Like, Oprah's endorsing Kamala Harris, who has a racist accent every 5 seconds. Like, it doesn't add up. Like, what's going on?
I know, she sounds different every time she opens her mouth. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
I know. It's really sad to see these endorsement videos from certain artists and actors, musicians and actors who you just, like, I could think behind the camera there's a gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
they don't look happy.
The Billie Eilish one with her and her brother, it was just like a 30-second clip. They said they're endorsing Kamala Harris, posted it. Caption was pretty short. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening?
It is odd.
Like, these people don't talk about politics in any other form of their career. It's just these one endorsement videos. It's so interesting. Okay, so consensus is that Diddy, we think, is a sacrificial lamb.
He was chosen to run this blackmail operation for the government in exchange for wealth, fame, access, etc. So it's like a job agreement deal. Blackmail's the government then has capture.
But assuming he's not
agencies.
the only one, though, someone has to take the fall. He was chosen as a sacrificial lamb in that way, because there are other individuals who are continuing and perpetuating this operation who we just don't know about yet.
Diddy and Epstein are the face of the operation, and they're the fall guy.
Okay.
The face and the fall guy, but they're middle managers, meaning that there's people that we don't either do know or don't know that are above them, and there's people that we do know or don't know that are below them that are blackmailed. So there's like handlers.
They're still stuck in the system.
Yeah. And so I think Oprah might be tangentially related. But I don't know if she's,
So we think Bieber was, he was below Diddy.
I would say Bieber's more of a victim in this because he was underage when this happened to him.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it to other people is part of, I don't think, like, I know he tried to protect Billie Eilish. Someone who I'd say is probably, like, okay, Jay-Z and Beyonce, I think under Diddy, but parallel to Diddy, but involved, but not the face of the operation. I think.
Is this the Illuminati? Because I know Jay-Z and Beyonce are part of the Illuminati.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat I don't know. I don't know how these secret societies work, but yeah, it's like it's it's like
it's all Illuminati.
It's like the Bohemian Grove of Hollywood. You know? So the thing about Jay-Z and Beyonce, which was crazy that I started really like trying to lock in and understand. Have you seen the videos of Adele when she broke that Grammy? Okay, so
on stage?
On stage, she broke the Grammy in half and gave the other half to Beyonce.
I have. Yes.
Did you watch that live when that happened?
No, I saw a clip. I just saw clips after, but I know what you're talking about.
Did you see it the year that happened, or have you just seen the clips recently?
I think it was around that time.
Okay, I don't remember that.
Like her whole speech was just her praising Beyonce.
Did you think
that was the entire speech?
Did you think it was odd?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that, but I also have never been someone who's like super into award shows, so maybe I missed that year. I don't know.
I've stopped watching them live, but I remember I saw that clip because actually I've liked Adele. Like she has an amazing voice. But yeah, I thought that was weird. Like I don't think that Adele won any other awards that night. A lot of times you'll see at award shows, like if an artist wins multiple awards, one of their like 4 speeches will be, I don't know, just them like going up there and saying whatever comes to their mind because they've already been up there before. But that was her only win that night. So out of everything she could say, she's only talking about Beyonce?
Yeah, isn't that odd?
That's odd.
Okay, so do you remember when Taylor Swift won, and what award was that when Kanye stepped up?
The VMAs.
Yeah, she won a VMA, and it was against Beyonce, who had that single ace. And what did Kanye do?
Kanye praised Beyonce.
Okay, so when Lizzo won a Grammy,
they praised Beyonce.
Okay, and if you look at
was it?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Okay, so
sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Okay,
I did not think we were gonna go down this trail.
This is the trail. So in the early 2000s,
so Beyonce is Queen Bee, literally.
She's Queen Bee. So she does not want anyone to surpass her. Okay, so people either know this or they don't. Taylor was an outsider when that happened. So a lot of people, and if you look at people who tried to surpass Beyonce in the early 2000s, they died.
Guess what? They died.
They died. Okay, I'm dead serious.
Wait, who?
This girl. I'll pull her up.
Swift.
Okay.
She actually died.
And there's like these crazy,
Dude, wait a minute. What if old Taylor Swift died and we have a new Taylor Swift? They're like completely.
I don't know. I think that. I don't know. That could be it, but I don't think so.
That would be a crazy.
I think that Kanye was trying to save Taylor because he thought she was innocent.
Music, so thank you so much for giving me a chance to win a VMA award.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
Like, she's an innocent girl. I don't want her to get killed by Beyonce. So he went to save her.
So put her in her place now so she knows.
Yeah, like, because he knew that Taylor didn't know to praise Beyonce in the speech. And he knew that would piss Beyonce off. So he was like, I better help smooth the situation over and get the spotlight on Beyonce, because Taylor won't know to do it because hasn't been in the industry long enough. But Adele and Lizzo had been in the industry long enough, and they knew, like, you could see the fear in their eyes, like they didn't want to win that Grammy because they're scared.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was the singer that was coming up around the same time as Beyonce in the early 2000s, but then died of pneumonia?
Yeah, I don't know. Aaliyah?
Aaliyah.
Oh my gosh. Wait, this is so sad. She died at 22?
Yeah.
What 22-year-old is dying from pneumonia?
There's a lot of weird people that died of pneumonia that now I think was probably a bioweapon shot or something.
Yeah. That is really interesting. Well, so she's not the only one. There's probably others then.
Yeah, and so then, okay, J. Cole's song, She Knows.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch any of the videos I sent you about that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so a lot of people think that has like a coded message, and I'll show you.
You're educating me so much on this.
Sorry, I like
this
get
is so interesting. I didn't know that you fell down the Beyonce rabbit hole this deep.
Yeah, I did.
But no, I get the reason. I've known that her and Jay-Z are definitely involved with.
And I'm
powers.
a big Kanye believer. So when Kanye was going crazy a few years ago, he was outing Jay-Z and Beyonce. And so yeah, I was like, and we have to wrap up soon, but yeah, I was like totally there for that. And everyone was like, oh, Kanye's crazy. And I'm like, someone doesn't like put themselves out there somewhat to not be trying to share us a message, even if it's kind of hidden, I guess.
Kanye seems like the type of person who's pretty particular with his words.
Right.
He doesn't just talk to talk.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Oh,
but also at the same time, he's kind of impulsive.
Amy Winehouse is another one. This is the She Knows video.
Okay. We'll link this video we're watching. A plane crash.
This is another
This
girl.
stuff doesn't just happen. I'm sorry, but that doesn't just happen to a 22-year-old. I don't know.
Let me see if I can find
the odds of that are
the J. Cole song breakdown, because that was really important. The J. Cole song breakdown is basically it's like, so She Knows is the name of Beyonce and okay, I just have to find it because I can't even explain it.
I hate that feeling where you just you have it somewhere. So J. Cole is based.
J. Cole is very based.
He's outing them.
He's outing them in the song.
Yes.
And that song blew up.
Wait, I like him more now.
I've always liked him.
I've always liked him.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I have goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like that big of a revelation, but no, he's based.
And Kanye's back now. He's divorcing. I don't know if this is true. I don't know, but Kanye's back. And his
Bianca, was right?
Bianca, I heard they might get a divorce. I think that Kanye was under some sort of witness protection situation, or he put himself under. Like, I think that what happened was that he went off the rails. He told everyone that Diddy was going down. So did Cat Williams, by the way. And Cat Williams said, all lies will be revealed in 2024, which is what's happening, including Diddy. And he specifically mentioned Diddy. So I don't think Diddy's just a distraction. I think it's like all the truth is like coming to the surface because of the spiritual warfare that we're in. Kanye is now back, and I see his aura. Like, his aura is with him. The last 2 years, I think he was using a body double, and I think he was in hiding because he didn't want to get killed. And now that Diddy's arrested, like, he feels safe.
Yeah. Well, this is all making sense. I think with Justin Bieber, for example, I remember I saw a video of him where he was talking about like why he cares so much for Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
And he broke out into tears. Have you seen that video?
Yeah.
So quick. Yeah. And she's crazy. She's a superstar.
Superstar, right? So you're there and you see her and you see the way she's reacting to you. And I wonder what was going through your mind, because I've never had a chance to ask you that, because I know what was going through her mind because I've had a chance to ask her that, and it was pretty clear in the video what's going through her mind. She can't even. What was going through your mind when you saw that kind of reaction? And also now in the knowledge that you were just coming out of that space yourself.
I wanted to protect the moment. You know, I don't know how many opportunities I'm gonna get. You know, we never know how many opportunities we're gonna get with anybody. I mean, I'm tearing up thinking about it, just with the Kobe situation, you know? You just never know. And so I just wanted to be a good example, you know? And, yeah.
Did you feel protective of her?
Yeah, I definitely feel protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, you know, telling me they love me and, you know, just turn their back on you in a second. So, yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, you know, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, you know, let her do her thing, and if she ever needs me, I'm gonna be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments, because people take for granted encounters, and yeah. So yeah, I just want to protect her, you know. I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, you know, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
And the interviewer was just asking simple questions like, you know, how are you as a mentor in this industry to Billie Eilish? And he starts bawling.
Yeah, that's not a normal response.
That's not a normal response. And I remember when I saw that for the first time, I was like, okay, either this guy is completely mentally unwell, or this is a cry for help and expulsion of this trauma that we just didn't know at the time. But now I see the connection there.
You look back at the videos when he was in what they were doing publicly to him on stage with like kissing him when he was underage and all this stuff. Like, what were they doing behind closed doors to him?
Weren't there like P. Diddy like on the roast, like the Comedy Central roast of Justin Bieber? Did you ever watch that? I think there was a joke or two about Diddy. Okay. Yeah. I want to find that.
Interesting.
I've rewatched that roast a few times. It's actually pretty funny.
Okay. Well, we didn't even get into like Alex Clark or Liz Cheney.
The only thing I think we should mention, because I have a few takes on the Kamala and Call Her Daddy episode. I watched
Not Alex
it.
Clark, sorry, Alex Cooper. Excuse me.
Alex Cooper, yes. We're dealing with too many Alexes who are podcast hosts in the female podcast sphere. But so I watched it, and it was 40 minutes long. It's actually a much shorter episode length than the normal Call Her Daddy episodes.
Oh, really?
But Alex Cooper did an intro before the interview started, and a majority of the intro was her saying that she like went back and forth on deciding whether or not she wanted to do the interview. She has never interviewed a politician on the podcast before. She was kind of trying to set the scene to make people think that it was unbiased and that she was going to be unbiased as an interviewer. But actually, when the interview started, you could already instantly tell that she wasn't unbiased. It was a very one-sided discussion, I think. They both seemed like they were just like yesing each other back and forth the whole time.
Because a lot of people that will be like, she shouldn't have gone on that podcast because we're in the middle of a hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts on A, that comment, but B, someone rebutting and be like, well, but Trump's going on Theo Vaughn and Flagrant 2 and stuff. So what do you think the difference is between her going on that podcast and the content they talked about versus what maybe Trump has talked about on other podcasts?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't know when the episode was recorded.
It was recorded after the hurricane.
Okay, so yeah.
Because she had to reschedule.
Mid-peak Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
She's traveling to go and do this interview. Trump wasn't doing that. I'm sure, like, the flagrant interview that he was just on just came out. That probably was recorded.
He's also not the president right
bit
now,
ago.
or the vice president.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, she has not only obligations to her current position and the country, but that just wasn't top priority for her. This campaign for this election is her top priority.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one piece. And then the other was, I think these other interviews that Trump has been doing have been a lot more multifaceted, like actual interviews. He's been answering really hard questions. I have seen him take interviews, or at least say he's open to doing interviews with interviewers who are maybe not, you know, outspokenly aligned with his values.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Kamala Harris do that. I haven't seen her go out of her way to be interviewed by somebody who is willing to debate her or
Be objective.
ask different questions, or even just ask a variety of questions. Like that sit down conversation with Alex Cooper was just one topic. Yeah. It was one topic, and actually the majority of it, as they're talking about access to abortion, is they were trying to pitch to the audience that the main reason why we need to have abortion legalized in every single state is because of the logistics being difficult. Like,
we talked about this.
Like
you can download the migrant app, and it can take you
and it can direct you. It can direct you in every way.
Yeah, and the thing is, what's odd about that is, like, they're pushing the abortion pill anyways, which you can get mailed to your house. So I don't know. I don't even want to talk about abortion because it's just like, with everything that's going on, it's such a low-hanging fruit.
It's always a forgotten thing.
And it's also, to me, what I'll just dismiss it really quickly. She's the sitting VP under the Biden administration who also claims to want to legalize abortion nationally. Why haven't they done it? And why would they do it? They want it as a carrot over people's head because it's the only issue that gets them turnout. So they probably will never want to nationalize it legal or federally, because why would that would solve their problem with their voters? So I don't see it as an issue in this election, because I don't think even if she is president, it's going to change either way. I think it's to the states, and your state is going to vote how it's going to vote, and that's just it. Like, there's no more discussion that needs to happen right now. And I think whoever the president is, it's going to be a non-issue. And I think that Alex Cooper, her intro, I was kind of disappointed by it, because I was like, you're an educated woman. Why can't you ask a question about the economy? You don't need to know the answer.
Yeah, she was saying, I'm not qualified to talk about this or that or anything else, but I am qualified to talk about abortion. What makes you qualified to talk about abortion?
You're not a doctor.
Have you gotten an abortion? Are you a doctor? Yeah, exactly. So, and also, I feel like you and I both agree that you don't have to be qualified to talk about a lot of things.
Theo Vaughn is not an economist,
and I don't trust doctors anymore. Too. See our Maha episode; we go into that a lot more in depth. But yeah, I feel like anyone of label or degree or, you know, pedigree to talk about anything has lost a lot of reliability.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to wrap this up is I want to talk about team unity. And what people's choices are, and like who are the people,
and just define unity party versus uniparty.
Yeah, do you want to define what those two things are?
Yes. Okay. So essentially, we've figured out that this new alliance that's been forming this summer, mostly since like the beginning of the year, but a lot this summer leading up to the election, are people from a lot of different pockets of. That's my alarm going off. It's playing music. Hold on, I'll fix it. So it's a new group of people, and it's called the Unity Party.
Yes.
And they are battling a much larger group of people that surpasses the United States. It's actually a very globalistic group of people called the Uniparty.
Yep.
And That's basically the difference between the two. Yeah.
And we've been under a uniparty control for our government for a very long time, where it didn't matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, that there wasn't going to be a lot of monumental change, and the system was going to keep running on autopilot, which is the complexes. It's never-ending wars. It's America being unhealthy. The medical industrial complex. It's the weather. I mean, it's all the complexes. We've talked about this, and the Uniparty is very much in favor in amping those up, whereas the Unity Party is the exact opposite, which is why
it's pro decentralization, it's pro giving power back to the people, peace through strength, rebuilding before we can go back to helping everybody else again, squaring up with so many things. It's doing the housekeeping.
Preserving the environment, not polluting. All these like just basic human core values that we all should agree with. And the people, these are your choices, okay? We have at the Uniparty level, we have Dick Cheney, we have Liz Cheney, we have Mitt Romney, we have Kamala Harris, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Obama's, Big Mike, all that.
The Bushes.
Oh my gosh.
Mike. The Obamas, Big Mike. A separate entity. An undefined entity.
We have the IRS.
BlackRock.
So all that is one. So that's Team Uniparty. So that's an option.
Larry Fink.
So these are all your options. And then we got on the other side, we have Trump. We have Robert F. Kennedy. We have J.D. Vance. We have Vivek Wanasaki, we have Tulsi Gabbard, we have Theo Vaughn, we have
soon to be Tim Dillon one day.
We have a lot of fun people that are just like
that is like not the list is
Brett
so
Weinstein, like Matt Taibbi.
It's a robust list now. It wasn't before the summer, but now it is.
Go watch the Unite the Republic live stream on X. Just watch some of it, and you'll get a little sense of what we're dealing with. It's not a MAGA thing. I mean, it's not a MAGA what's it called? Rally. It's like this is kind of the supporting energy that's going into that. And RFK and Tulsi are going to be on Trump's transition team, so they will be picking all of the cabinet positions, which again, that filters down to our interactions with FEMA, our interactions to the CIA, our interactions to our security, wars, all that stuff that's in the executive branch of government, they're going to have their hand on it. So, and there's also a really cool initiative RFK is doing. It's called People to Policies, or Policies to the People. And you can submit, this is the first time I've ever seen this. There's a website. You can submit all of your policy ideas, and RFK and his team are going to review it as part of the new administration to decide how they can implement
it. Perfect. I mean, we need that.
So that's amazing.
What else to get everybody more involved?
Yes.
So it's beyond just voting, it's actually, they want our feedback. I think they know everyone's desperate for something.
Nicole.
To help Nicole Shanahan is kick ass.
Check her out.
She is so, I could go on and on about her. You guys, she is really freaking cool. I guess she owns a ranch now.
She's the real deal.
No, she is sick and so smart.
She reminds me of you.
Really?
Yeah.
What? That's the biggest compliment ever.
Like, you're like her mini prodigy. Like, you could be her like shadow.
I feel like she's kind of like mellow. Like, I'm pretty mellow.
Yeah.
But like calm, cool, collected. But when she opens her mouth, like I aspire to be more like that. But when she opens her mouth, it's intentional, and she just lands every time.
Yeah.
And I feel like her heart and just her priorities are so in the right place. Yeah. I know. Maybe one day we will get her in a much more prominent position. I think we will. I mean, she's so young. She's like 36.
Yeah.
So
my advice to anyone who is disillusioned by Trump, by MAGA, for whatever reason, check out one of these other people that we mentioned and just watch some of their clips and get to know who they are and see who you vibe with. And then do that before you cast your vote, because I do think it is good to be informed and know not just the person, but the party you're and the energy that you're electing.
No, it's not just one individual. It's electing a whole tribe of people that are say that happens to be Trump that are going to support him
Yeah.
and influence his thinking and his decision making. The fact that he's been so open on bringing all these people in and sounding like he wants to keep them there, I think that's a good sign that he wants to, quote unquote, share the load with everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. But yeah, I think we covered everything, all the major stuff.
Yeah.
Last thing, I mentioned to you earlier that, and we didn't really get into MK Ultra much this episode.
That has
and
to be its own.
That's, again, it's a recurring theme, but I kind of just wanted to, plant this food for thought to everybody that if you haven't looked into MK Ultra, obviously there's been big experiments and big therapies that we've done over, different decades. It's been around for a while. I really think that being on the screen, and unfortunately we all are working on the screen, everyone's looking at news on the screen, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
So I think that in a way that is hypnotizing us a lot.
No, it is.
And so I'm just kind of trying to leave this on a positive note of like, hey, just get off the screen a little bit.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm trying to do that because there's been so
while
much.
you're listening to our podcast and subscribe.
Yeah, maybe just listen to it, but don't look at it.
That's a good idea. Go do a workout. Go on a hike.
Yeah. Feed your soul in other ways, and you can just keep it at bay if you remind yourself of that. Because I do think there is some sort of little hidden MK Ultra tech that's in there, and I want to look into that deeper.
It's not hidden. It's
pretty overt.
It's there. I mean, television, I think, was probably invented by MK Ultra programming, and our phones are an extension of that. And blue light.
It's just a smaller,
more
portable TV.
When you bring up the blue light, I forgot I read this recently. We have the technology to not use blue light for our phones, and they choose to use blue light because they know it is hurting us.
Has the biggest effect.
Yeah, it's so addictive.
That's really interesting. If you
I'll
find
send
that
you
again,
article.
please send that.
I was like, MK Ultra, man. It's not fake. It's real. Look it up. It happened in the 70s. It probably continued on.
Yeah.
It was tried in Congress. There's a really good book that's called Charles Manson, the CIA in the 60s. And the guy who wrote it for 20 years. He went on Joe Rogan.
Wow.
I told you, when I was pregnant, I went into an MK Ultra spell.
Yes.
So that I bought the book. I couldn't read it because it just had such a dark aura to it. I just had to hide the book, but I did listen to the podcast.
It's very 1984.
Yeah, very Orwellian.
Yeah, very Orwellian. I think I hear a lot of wellness gurus and people say, get off the screen because it distorts your dopamine, which while that might be happening, I think there's another more potent aspect, which is it's literally hypnotizing you.
Yeah.
And there's an addictive quality that goes beyond just your dopamine flooding because of it. It's I want to look into the psychology a little bit more, but
we should one of our next episodes we'll definitely do an MK Ultra screen one.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good rest of your night or morning or whenever.
Whenever you're listening, thank you guys. Stay tuned for
more
upcoming
updates.
episodes and stay safe, be well.
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yeah. Much love. Bye.
Cheers. All right, bye.